minus 10 minutes. Minus 9 minutes. Minus 8 minutes. Minus 7 minutes. Minus 6 minutes. 5 minutes. T-minus for minutes. T-minus 3 minutes. T-minus 2 minutes. T-minus 1 minute. Stand by.
How about that?
Can't hear you, Darren. Okay. Sorry, pal, I can't hear you.
How about now, Corey? Mitch?
There we go.
It's working now? All right. We're off to a great start. Wonderful. How are you, Mitch?
I'm good, Darren. Yourself? Having a good Monday, it looks like.
We're having a great Monday. Hey, we're off to a good start. Off to a good start. Hey, quickly get everybody up to speed, and then we'll roll into this thing. No Rod Pedersen today. He's got appointments, whatever that means. We never know what it means with RP. He's got appointments. We'll just call it that. Very important stuff. But you're left with us two yahoos for the next 2 hours, which is going to be a lot of fun. We've got lots to talk about, including NHL GM meetings are happening right now, NFL free agency rolls. The World Baseball Classic is getting really hot. Final semifinal tonight, and then we'll get into the final tomorrow, happening in Miami, which is awesome. More NHL notes and a whole lot more. We'll say hello to everybody that's watching on YouTube. Somebody said I got to start learning sign language. I think that was John Holm. You know, I used to know a little bit of sign language, just the alphabet, but not anymore. It's gone. I used to learn.
I've got some sign language too, but it's stuff that we can't really put on.
I know what sign language. Yeah, you're talking about.
Yeah.
How have you been? It's been a minute, Mitch, since you and I have done a show together. It's been a while.
It has been. You're a busy man these days. Were you at the Players?
I was not at the Players. I was actually spent the last week in Whitehorse, Yukon, at the Arctic Winter Games.
Oh my!
Which is
that's a little bit away from Sawgrass.
Tell me about it. So, just to take you back, I started my career in Kindersley, Saskatchewan, Canada, in 2006. From there, I went up to a town called Chetwynd, BC, and Dawson Creek. So when I was in Rosetown and Kindersley, I lived in Rosetown. That's where the radio station was. And 45 minutes away, the junior hockey team was in Kindersley, in the bigger center. And the same thing happened when I went up to BC. The team was in Dawson Creek, and about 45 minutes away was this town called Chetwynd in this Peace region. And that's where the radio station was. So I would drive to the games. And people would say, "You're in BC, that's great." I'm like, no, I'm not in the lower mainland BC. I'm not in the Okanagan. I'm not in Vancouver. I'm not in the BC you travel to. Think about, 6 or 8 hours north of there is Prince George. And if you go all the way up to Prince George, which they would consider basically the middle of nowhere, go another 3 hours north, you'll find Chetwynd. Well, from Chetwynd, if you hop in your car, you have to go 17 hours north and west to find Whitehorse in the Yukon, and that's where I spent the last week.
Yeah, no, I know those travails. Working in Peace River, Alberta for 4.5 years. Many trips to Dawson Creek, many trips to Fort St. John, a few trips to Chetwynd.
Yeah.
One to Prince George.
That's the Peace River Navigators. Is that right?
No, at that time, they weren't in existence yet. They were just getting their feet off the ground when I started there.
Okay.
Or when I left there. The big thing then was the senior team, the Peace River Stampeders. That was the big thing, and I think Dawson Creek had a senior team. The Canucks.
The Canucks, and the junior
Fort
team was
St.
called
John,
the Dawson Creek Junior Canucks.
Called. Yeah, but that's where I got to know the late Darcy Hogan, because he was just starting things up there when I left, and he was playing senior hockey for the Stampeders as well. So that's how I got to know that individual. And of course, we know how that story tragically ended.
Yeah, before he ended up in Humboldt. Darcy was the coach of the junior team when I made my stop through there. So got to know Darcy a little bit, covering those teams. Yeah, it was Peace River and Fort St. John and Grand Prairie and Slave Lake and Dawson Creek and the Northwest Junior League was something else, man. But Whitehorse was cool. And I know we just got a few minutes in this segment, and then we'll get into sports talk after the break. Whitehorse was really cool. It was interesting. They had the Canada Games there in 2007, so a lot of legacy projects, a beautiful facility called the Canada Games Center. And the most interesting thing about the Arctic Winter Games, because I've been to 3 Canada Games with Team Saskatchewan as mission staff on the media and communications side. This is my first time going independently. And they have all the same sports, hockey and basketball and volleyball and skiing and snowboarding. But then they have these sports called the Arctic sports and the Dene Games, which tie in the northern culture, right? And the indigenous culture. And that was, I was curious going in, and I left blown away. Here's some of the sports that they have. They have the kneel jump, which imagine the standing long jump that they have, or the broad jump, but you start on your knees and you go right from your knees to a jump to see how far you can go. So really tests. They have sports that tie back into their culture, like the stick pull, where it's 2 athletes holding onto a stick that's been greased up, and it's a tug of war in a single hand. And the idea goes back to when they had to catch their dinner. So you'd grab a salmon that slips out of the boat, it's all slimy, and you have to have hand strength to hang on to it. Another one that was probably my favorite sport of the whole games was the knuckle hop. These all sound kind of funny when you think about it, when you're not familiar or haven't been exposed to it. But the knuckle hop is you're in a push-up position on your knuckles, and you have to work your way around the track, around the gymnasium. And it is, when I tell you these athletes were chiseled like a piece of concrete, and they could barely make it to the end line or one lap around the gym, and their knuckles were bloody at the end of it. It was endurance and strength, and I don't know, Mitch, something I've never seen before.
Yeah, the first time I saw that, it was a long, long time ago. I didn't see the stick pull, but I did see the knuckle hop, and I'm like, what are you doing, and why would you do this? And I would never be able to do this. And my knees just hurt with the knee jump. It was,
I know.
But yeah, crazy.
Okay, we'll take a quick break, our first of the show, and then we will get into sports talk after the break. No Rod, as you're watching the Rod Pedersen Show here on your Monday morning.
This is a test pattern. This is what happens when your video company screws up. You don't want your clients to see a screw-up. Hire a company that only does video, so it won't screw up. Then, people who give you money will see less of these and more of you. Skycron.com/live.
Looking for a new ride without the big city pressure? Come to Western Dodge in Moose Jaw, where you'll find an unbeatable lineup of Ram trucks, Jeep SUVs, Dodge Muscle, and Chrysler family rides. With knowledgeable staff, great prices, and that friendly Moose Jaw touch, you'll drive away with confidence. Western Dodge. Big selection, small town service. Visit us today or browse online at westerndodge.ca.
Do you worry about how much someone drinks?
Do you feel angry or depressed most of the time? Do you feel neglected or unloved?
Do you feel that if the drinker loved you, she or he would stop drinking?
If you answered yes to any of these questions, you are not alone.
Not everyone trapped by alcohol is an alcoholic.
Families and friends are suffering too. Al-Anon and Alateen can help. Call 1-866-200-0223 or visit alanon.org/help.
Hold on tight, Moose Jaw. Professional bull riding is back. PBR Canada charges into the Temple Garden Center April 25th. See the toughest riders take on the rankest bulls in a night of non-stop, edgier seat action. Whether you're a diehard fan or brand new to PBR, this is one show you don't want to miss. Tickets are on sale now at sastix.ca or at the box office. But don't wait, they'll sell fast. Professional Bull Riding Canada in Moose Jaw.
Proudly presented by Papikassis Developments Limited.
Business owners and marketers. Okay, we know you think we're pretty cool. That's why we want you to share in the coolness factor. Partner with the Rod Pedersen Show and market your business every weekday to sports lovers just like yourself. Take advantage of our many cost-effective commercial and promotional opportunities. Tell the world about your business. Yes, the world. Thanks to Game Plus TV and the Rod Pedersen Digital Network. Contact us today and find out how you can be a part of Canada's fastest growing sports talk show, The Rod Pedersen Show.
Ultimate Fan Zone, taking our show on the road coast to coast. Shop online, ultimatefanzone.ca. Slick, user-friendly. We built this site for the die-hard sports fans. Jerseys, hats, team apparel, offering officially licensed fan gear from the best lines in sports. Nike, New Era, Adidas, Fanatics. Game day ready to your door. Now, just a click away, ultimatefanzone.ca, or check us out on Facebook and Instagram. UFZ Downtown Moose Jaw, home of everything authentic.
21-time nominated Grammy Award winner Dwight Yoakam. Live in concert. June 24th, 7 p.m., Temple Garden Center. Dwight Yoakam. On sale now at sastix.ca. Dwight Yoakam Live.
All right, just like riding a bike back on the RP show. Mitchell Blair is with me. He'll be here back in a second. We could say good morning to everybody watching on YouTube now. We can say good morning to Jason and Red Deer is watching. John Kirby's watching this morning. I saw Shane Mellinson was in there. Tony in Cochrane, Alberta, talked about that he used to live in Dawson Creek. Mitch, you mentioned starting in Peace River, and we'll get into sports right after this. Where did your career take you? What was the path to get to where you are in Regina?
Started in Lethbridge when I was going to school.
Yep.
Then worked for a couple of years here at the old 620 CKCK.
Wow.
Then went to Peace River for 4.5 years. Came back to Regina and bounced around the stations here.
Yeah, that is. You got to go. You got to move a little bit. Yeah.
A couple of years in the Saskatchewan Junior Hockey League, working for communications, and then got back into radio. Got into government communications, and then, that came to an end, and now it's semi-retirement, which is okay.
Love that. No, it's a wonderful, wonderful story and a great career. Yeah, for me, it was Kindersley. Then it was, the Dawson Creek Chetwynd trip back to Saskatoon, Regina, and now here out in Toronto, making it work. So, yeah, it's definitely wild roads. Look, let's get into some sports. Where do we want to start? Let's maybe start NHL and the current news of the day. NHL GM meetings are going on and set to announce the World Cup of Hockey returning in 2028. And the rumor is, and I don't know if has the announcement dropped since we've been on the air? It hadn't since we went.
I have not seen it if it has.
Officially, but it had been leaked. They were talking about it. They are going to announce the World Cup of Hockey in 2028 with possibly or likely Alberta as a major part of that. Alberta, Edmonton and Calgary had made significant bids to be hosts. There's a component that will include Europe, but the World Cup of Hockey is coming back in 2028. How do we feel about this?
Well, it's great. I think we got our appetite sort of interested when we saw the Four Nations tournament a few years ago. We didn't know what that was going to be all about, because was this just going to be a modified all-star game where players are going to be giving it 100%? We found out in a big hurry that, they were. The Olympics, I don't have to tell you what that was like. And the World Cup of Hockey should be very much the same. And if it's anything like the World Baseball Classic, which we're currently seeing, it's going to be tremendous. Coming to Alberta, everything I have seen and heard of the new rink in Calgary, they say it's going to be better than Rogers Place. And if that's the case, then you might arguably have the two best rinks in the NHL hosting the World Cup, because I know you've been to Rogers Place, Darren, as have I several times. I'm sure you've seen the bowels of the building and the upper deck of the building as well as I have. There's no better building in the NHL than Rogers Place. We know how many events have been held there in the past, whether it be COVID related or not. I think if this goes to Edmonton, Calgary, this is going to be tremendous. And I think that Highway 16 between Saskatoon and Edmonton and Highway 1 between Regina and Calgary will be quite full, because I think a lot of Saskies will be wanting to be a part of that.
Yeah, I agree. It is awesome. And the thing for me that I wonder is about, almost, fatigue from international competition. And so the NFL is kind of flirting with this. I saw this last week when they announced, the rumor that they may have a Thanksgiving Eve football game instead of just the 3 on Thanksgiving, adding one to the eve. They've got Christmas now. And when you look at that stretch, it's football almost every day. And somebody mentioned, they pointed out, one of the NFL's greatest assets is their scarcity. You got to wait all week for the game. And on Sunday, you watch football, or now Thursday and Monday, but it's scarcity. And I think that's one of the things that has maybe hurt hockey in our country a little bit with Hockey Night in Canada. Now you see every single day almost feels like the same show, right? You see Chris Cuthbert calling games on a Tuesday and on a Wednesday and then again on Saturday, where Bob Cole, you only heard him really on Saturdays, or even Jim Houston when he followed in Bob Cole's shoes, it was Saturday night. And then maybe things like the Winter Classic, the season opener, and then the playoffs. Is the NHL flirting a little bit with too much?
I don't think so, just because I don't know how you reduce it when it's an 82 game schedule.
No, but sorry,
starting next
I mean in the international competition. We waited so long to get the NHLers back that it was so good. Is it going to get too frequent that it's going to lose it?
I don't think on the short term it will. And I think there was so much chatter around the Olympics, and obviously the way that ended here, and now you're going to have the Americans boasting that they're Olympic champs. Now they want to be World Cup champs, and there's no reason to think that they can't be. Even though Canada, they want to get their measure of revenge for the Olympic loss. I don't think immediately it will. And then, of course, there's the argument about the Russians. Will they be in the World Cup? And if so, you know what type of team they have, and you know that barring disaster, that either Canada or the U.S. will probably take on Russia in the semifinal, if not a final. So I don't think when it comes to hockey fans that there's that danger. I know what you're saying with the NFL, especially when you add college football into the mix, and we all know how big the NCAA is on both sides of the border. I hope the NFL doesn't play a Thanksgiving Eve game, because my NFL is Monday, Thursday, Sunday, and then late in the season, the odd Saturday games. Yeah. And I know that when they go to Europe, and that's a bigger thing for them now, that's a long day if you want to get up and watch a game at, 7 in the morning and then go right through to Sunday Night Football. That's a long day, and it's pretty tough for a fan, even the most hardcore football fan, to sit there for the whole day watching football, which is why when the CFL does their triple headers, it's a tough watch to watch all three. And the hardcores do it, and good for them, but you got to find a break somewhere in there on a Saturday, because after all, there is life. Got to go get groceries. Got to go to the Home Depot. Got to go here. Got to go there. You got to miss something. So, yeah, I hope the NFL doesn't go to a Wednesday game, because that just doesn't. I don't think that will work.
No, and at some point, yeah, you have to decide, right? But I think if the World Cup remains, every 4 years, and the Olympics is every 4 years, and the NHL keeps going, so you get it every second year, best on best, I think that can work. And I think that would be okay.
Yeah, I do too. I just hope that they don't sort of, okay, we're going to give you the World Cup. Great. Now we're going to give you an all-star game. Yawn. because we know that the hockey all-star game is a joke. And I would like to see the NHL just maybe in those years just say, you know what, we're not going to have an all-star break. We're just going to just keep rolling right on through the season. And I'd be okay with that. But if it means obviously revenue to the league, and I think it means more to the league than it does to the fans, well, then we know we'll see an all-star game. So
The Russia question, you kind of just dropped that in. When do we see Russia back in international competition?
It's a great question. And I really don't know the answer to that. I know that they had some Russian athletes at the Paralympic Games. They didn't have them at the Olympics. I would have to think that it can't be much longer. And the World Cup of Hockey may be what gets Russia back into the fold. And then hopefully we see them back at the World Juniors and the under-18s and everything else, because I understand why it's been done, but it might be time now because things have obviously changed a lot since that decision was originally made.
Absolutely. John Kirby writes in, and he's going to change our topic a little bit here. He said, why no NFL games in Canada anymore? Does it have to do with CFL or something else? And I'm curious on your thoughts on this. Here's mine. No, not in Canada. Look, they've come to Canada a couple of times, to Toronto with the Bills series, and then they brought the preseason game to Winnipeg. And the understanding is that they both really didn't go that well. Obviously, there was the field issues that changed things and really made it a bit of a circus in Winnipeg. And then the Bills series, depending on who you talk to, the building was empty. They're giving away tickets. And it didn't work, even though you have a lot of Bills fans in Toronto, and it's kind of the local NFL team. Here's why I don't think they come to Canada right now. And that is because this international series, they're using it to try and grow the game all over the world. They're doing it in Brazil and Germany and London. And now they're going to go to Australia, where I was just visiting for the Australian Open in January. And there's signs up, watch the games at this bar. NFL is on. Now it's on in the morning, but come watch the games. I think they already have Canada. I think Canada and the U.S. are so similar now. I mean, we get all the NFL games, we get all the NFL advertising, we consume all the NFL social media.
Yep.
Canada is not an underserved market for the NFL, so we don't have to come here. We're already hitting that market with our NFL. We are not hitting overseas. That's why I think they go there instead of Canada. You?
I completely agree with you. You don't have to go far to find the NFL in Canada. And if you want to go see the NFL as a Canadian, be in Saskatchewan, I can hop on a plane in Regina and be in Minneapolis or Denver and spend a weekend there. And I know people, as I think you do too, that buy Viking season tickets in groups or Broncos season tickets in groups, and then they decide who's going to what game. The NFL doesn't have a problem with marketing its game in Canada. That's not an issue. But you're right. You want to get people in Spain, in Germany, in Australia, in Brazil interested in the game. And you have to take those teams across the pond to get them interested. Whereas in Canada, we see these guys every day of the week. And it's not an issue for us to turn on the TV at noon on a Sunday and see the stars of the league, or on a Sunday night or Monday night. It's a little bit tougher, as you said, in Europe because of the times that the games are on. And, I'm guessing Monday Night Football in Europe is not as popular as it is in North America, just for the fact that it's not really Monday Night Football, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, I know. I think that's it. Well, thanks for the question, John, on that one. Just a couple of minutes, but I want to get into, and we can talk about it a little bit after, the World Baseball Classic. I know we're not big baseball guys in terms of Rod and the show, and we talk a lot of baseball, but the World Baseball Classic has really swept up the country or the continent and the world.
Oh, it's been something else. And, Canada getting to the quarterfinals against the U.S. and really having a legitimate chance of beating them, as they didn't get hammered the way a lot of people thought they would. And then last night's game with the Dominican Republic and the U.S. and, a bad ending to what was a great game I know Aaron Judge said today that this is bigger than the World Series. And I don't argue with Aaron on that. You know, I'd ask a hockey fan, what's bigger in your mind, the Olympics or the Stanley Cup? And I think when those nationalistic feelings are there, I think a lot of people would tell you the Olympics. The World Championship obviously isn't what it used to be because the lineups are watered down most times, but this tournament has been great for baseball. And it's going to have baseball just firing going into the regular season in 2 weeks. So I think it's been great. We'll see Venezuela and Italy play tonight. The winner playing the Americans in the final tomorrow. It's been great for baseball.
Canada would have had a little bit more favorable draw had the U.S. not had a brain fart against Italy and played their guys. But you know what? Maybe we would have had better fate into the semifinal, but a great week for great event for Canada. Japan, out. You mentioned Venezuela, Italy. That goes tonight at 8 Eastern, and the final against the USA is tomorrow. Okay, one more break, then we'll get into some more NHL notes and NFL free agency after this break. You're watching the Rod Pedersen Show. No Rod. He's got some appointments today. You're watching the Game Plus Television Network and streaming on YouTube.
Ultimate Fan Zone, taking our show on the road coast to coast. Shop online, ultimatefanzone.ca. Slick, user-friendly. We built this site for the die-hard sports fans. Jerseys, hats, team apparel, offering officially licensed fan gear from the best lines in sports. Nike, New Era, Adidas, Fanatics. Game day ready to your door. Now, just a click away. ultimatefanzone.ca or check us out on Facebook and Instagram. UFZ Downtown Moose Jaw, home of everything authentic.
Hold on tight, Moose Jaw. Professional bull riding is back. PBR Canada charges into the Temple Garden Center April 25th. See the toughest riders take on the rankest bulls in a night of non-stop edge-of-your-seat action. Whether you're a diehard fan or brand new to PBR, this is one show you don't want to miss. Tickets are on sale now at sastix.ca or at the box office. But don't wait, they'll sell fast. Professional Bull Riding Canada in Moose Jaw.
Proudly presented by Papikasi's Developments Limited.
You have a vision, a big idea. But how do you turn ambition into absolute impact? It starts with connection. Booking top-tier speakers and executing seamless events. That's the EMJ difference. We position your brand where it belongs, Guy, through powerful advertising, strategic media, and promotion that drives results. At EMJ Marketing, we don't just promote, we partner. Your growth, our mission.
Business owners and marketers. Okay, we know you think we're pretty cool. That's why we want you to share in the coolness factor. Partner with the Rod Pedersen Show and market your business every weekday to sports lovers just like yourself. Take advantage of our many cost-effective commercial and promotional opportunities. Tell the world about your business. Yes, the world. Thanks to Game Plus TV and the Rod Pedersen Digital Network. Contact us today and find out how you can be a part of Canada's fastest-growing sports talk show, The Rod Pedersen Show.
Hiring a video company shouldn't be complicated. Click, pay, done. Skycron.com/Regina. This is a test pattern. This is what happens when your video company screws up. You don't want your clients to see a screw-up. Hire a company that only does video, so it won't screw up. Then, people who give you money will see less of these and more of you. Skycron.com/live.
Sports fans, daytime sports talk gets a whole lot better weekdays at noon Eastern with the Rod Pedersen Show. Talking sports daily with A-list guests, and the best part is, you can always join the discussion as we're the most interactive talk show on television. Broadcasting from coast to coast from the biggest events like Super Bowl, Stanley Cup Final, Grey Cup, and more, there's nothing like it in the game today. The Rod Pedersen Show, daily at noon Eastern and 10 p.m. Pacific on Game Plus Network.
Welcome back into the RP Show. Darren Dupont here for Rod, and we're going to get into the NFL, a little more NHL coming up here before we say goodbye to Mitchell Blair, who's joining us today. But before we do that, Mitch, and you're going to come in here in a second, breaking news this morning, and it comes from the world of curling. Breaking news in curling. New team announcement. We saw earlier in the week or in the weekend, late last week, that for the Saskatchewan viewers, which we know we have many, Mike McEwen is out of his team, but in is Tyler Tardy, new skip. Tyler Tardy will join Colton Flash, Dan, and Kevin Marsh for the upcoming season and probably the quadrennial leading up to the next Olympic Games. But we have a new home for Brennan Bottcher, and we really thought that, with Brad Gushue retiring after this season, that maybe Bottcher would move up and take on that team. Well, he's taking on a team. It's a brand new team. So Team Bottcher includes Jacob and Tanner Horgan and Jeff Walker. So that just came out today. So Jeff Walker is going to join the Horgan brothers and Brennan Bottcher for the upcoming season. Breaking news.
And Jeff Walker, I think, correct me if I'm wrong, he's originally from Alberta. We talked about the Peace Country right off the top of the show. I believe Jeff Walker's from the lovely community of Beaver Lodge, Alberta, so he's returning home. So Gushue's gone. Bottcher's with the new team that has Walker. So that probably leaves Mark Nichols as the only guy now looking for a rink, and Mark Nichols can still throw the rock. So there's a very valuable free agent out there still in Mark Nichols, and it'll be interesting to see where he ends up.
Well, what about John Epping, who is going to be part of the new Rock League now? John Epping had a very good last few seasons. He was playing with the Horgans. Does Mark Nichols and John Epping end up together in some capacity?
That's a very good question, and I wonder if Mike McEwen might be somewhere in the mix there too. I seem to think that Mike McEwen is going to take the spot that Reed Carruthers had, because Reed Carruthers said he's stepping away from the game. And this would be a chance for Mike to go back to Manitoba. Yep. Although somebody said, didn't Reed Carruthers replace Mike? And I can't remember because, curling's gotten to be so convoluted with player movement these days. But, we're slowly starting to see rinks with the new Olympic cycle getting underway here very soon. We're starting to see new rinks get formed, rinks breaking up, rinks changing for whatever reason. And we're going to see some more here, too, down the line. And it's going to be interesting to see where guys like Epping end up, where McEwen ends up, where Mark Nichols ends up. I didn't think Bottcher would stay in Newfoundland. It doesn't surprise me that he goes back to Alberta. But with the rink he's got, that does surprise me a little, because I thought Jeff Walker might stay out east with Mark Nichols. But he's not going to. So we'll see where that ends up.
Interesting news. We're going to see that those team announcements continue to roll out. And yeah, you're very right. We'll see what happens with Mark Nichols. We'll see what happens with John Epping, with Mike McEwen, and others. So a little curling news in the middle of our show here this morning. Look, I want to get to the NFL, and I've changed the poll question. I figured out how to get in and update it and change it because my Tennessee Titans had a bit of a rebrand over the last number of days.
New unis.
New uniforms, new brand, new logo, the whole deal. Not just a uniform relaunch, but a whole new brand. They've gone to the baby blue as the primary color, white as the secondary, and red as the trim. And the new jerseys almost mimicking the Houston Oilers look. Although they claim it's a different blue, it's a Titans blue, a few shades off if you put them side
Is it
by
obsidian
side.
blue?
It's not obsidian. So it's prompted this poll question. And my team aside, they're very nice jerseys, and they're getting a very favorable reaction across the NFL that the Titans are going to have a really nice brand moving forward. So it has me wondering, who has the best uniforms in the NFL? Now, I came up with this on my own. I tried to look at a couple of top 32 polls, and this is such a subjective thing. But here's what I've taken away. The Titans, the Dallas Cowboys, the Vegas Raiders, or other. Who's your vote for the best uniforms? I know I'm putting you on the spot.
Other.
Seattle?
Other.
Is it your?
I'm biased, but there is no better uniform than the retro Seattle Seahawk blue jersey. And if you don't like the creamsicle jerseys of the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, we can't even let you into the room.
100%. And yeah, let's think about it this way. The poll question, now I could have, if I was doing that, I might have the Seahawks retros. I would have now the Titans, but I would have had that when they bring out the Oilers jerseys, the creamsicle for sure. But I'm thinking entire kit, the traditional uniform, their typical home away kits. Who's got the best look? Because I think the Titans have to be considered up there now after this rebrand.
You know what? I've always been a favorite of the baby blues, and of course I've got the baby blues with the Cubs on today. I really like the Chargers uniforms and the baby blues that they have. There's something about them, same with UCLA when they play. When they're wearing those, I really like that look. Yeah, you've got the traditionals like you mentioned, like the Cowboys, the Raiders. I think you could probably throw the Vikings into that category. But for me, I really like the Charger uniforms. I think they pop when you see them on TV, especially the blue ones.
Right now.
The light blue ones, because I know they've worn the dark blues every now and
yeah.
then. I'm not as big on that. So
the baby blues are nice. Yeah. Right now,
Yeah.
the Dallas Cowboys and the Vegas Raiders both leading the poll 15%, or both of the options, 15-15. Titans have 8% and other 62%. And obviously everybody's voting for their favorites. NFL free agency news today. Justin Fields on his way to the Kansas City Chiefs to back up Patrick Mahomes. He'll join your boy from the Seattle Seahawks, Super Bowl MVP Kenneth Walker's there as well. What do we make of this? Justin Fields now going to back up Mahomes.
Well, I think the Chiefs, obviously, there's no quarterback controversy here. I don't think Kansas City's getting ready to peddle Patrick Mahomes off anywhere. But is Patrick Mahomes going to be ready for the start of the season? And we saw last year that the Chiefs, after Mahomes went down, you know, some will tell you you're only as strong as your starting quarterback, or, you know, if he goes down. And a lot of teams just don't have a quality backup. And I don't know if you want to put Justin Fields in that category or not, but, you know, look at how Kansas City struggled last year. Like, you know, and Gardner Minshew went down after Mahomes got hurt, and I can't even remember the name of the kid that played in the Christmas Day game that I'd never heard of before. It made me wonder, like, you know, what, this tells me that CFL quarterbacks couldn't play in the NFL, but this is sort of, I think, a stopgap for the Chiefs, because we know that Patrick Mahomes may not play the first couple of games of the year. They've got Kenneth Walker. Travis Kelce's coming back. I think Tyreek Hill's going to end up back in Kansas City. So it's not like they don't have the weapons that they've had. They still feel that they're a team that can get back to the Super Bowl, and I don't argue that at this moment. But this is just a insurance policy in case Patrick Mahomes, the return is a little bit delayed.
Yeah, I agree. And Carson Wentz, they've had other names back there, and it hasn't been a controversy. Look, we're inside 2 minutes to go in this segment, and your time with us, so we can't let you out of here without talking about your Edmonton Oilers. They lose Leon Draisaitl to injury in a win, but reports are that he's expected back before the end of the regular season to help with the playoff push, or at least in the playoffs. And they've also announced that Connor Ingram is the starting goaltender moving forward. Where are the Oilers at now? They're 5 points up on the last playoff spot, so they got a 5-point cushion. It's not a lot.
No, it's not, and they've got some issues. They've played a little bit better defensively. They looked all right last night against Nashville. I was sort of switching between that and the baseball game last night. I haven't heard anything about Draisaitl. That's the first I've heard of it this morning from you. Ingram in net, he's better than Jari, but then again, there are beer league goaltenders that are playing better than Jari right now. Edmonton will get in, and then the slate gets wiped to 0, but do I think Edmonton's going back to the Stanley Cup final? No, not a chance.
It is such an interesting team because they can go ahead and score 6 or 7 goals in a game, and they can be a team that squeaks in and gets to the Stanley Cup. You're less than 30 seconds.
Yeah, they can get there, but I just don't think with their goaltending, I just can't see it happening because at some point, Tristan Jarry is going to have to play a game or two in the playoffs, and I just don't like that equation.
Yeah. Mitch, appreciate this.
Give up 7.
Thank you. Back up.
Sports fans, daytime sports talk gets a whole lot better weekdays at noon Eastern with the Rod Pedersen Show. Talking sports daily with A-list guests, and the best part is, you can always join the discussion as we're the most interactive talk show on television. Broadcasting from coast to coast from the biggest events like Super Bowl, Stanley Cup Final, Grey Cup, and more, there's nothing like it in the game today. The Rod Pedersen Show, daily at noon Eastern and 10 p.m. Pacific on Game Plus Network.
Business owners and marketers. Okay, we know you think we're pretty cool. That's why we want you to share in the coolness factor. Partner with the Rod Pedersen Show and market your business every weekday to sports lovers just like yourself. Take advantage of our many cost-effective commercial and promotional opportunities. Tell the world about your business. Yes, the world. Thanks to Game Plus TV and the Rod Pedersen Digital Network. Contact us today and find out how you can be a part of Canada's fastest growing sports talk show, The Rod Pedersen Show.
Sports fans, daytime sports talk gets a whole lot better weekdays at noon Eastern with the Rod Pedersen Show. Talking sports daily with A-list guests, and the best part is, you can always join the discussion as we're the most interactive talk show on television. Broadcasting from coast to coast from the biggest events like Super Bowl, Stanley Cup Final, Grey Cup, and more, there's nothing like it in the game today. The Rod Pedersen Show, daily at noon Eastern and 10 p.m. Pacific on Game Plus Network.
This is a test pattern. This is what happens when your video company screws up. You don't want your clients to see a screw up. Hire a company that only does video, so it won't screw up. Then, people who give you money will see less of these and more of you. Skycron.com/live.
Business owners and marketers. Okay, we know you think we're pretty cool. That's why we want you to share in the coolness factor. Partner with the Rod Pedersen Show and market your business every weekday to sports lovers just like yourself. Take advantage of our many cost-effective commercial and promotional opportunities. Tell the world about your business. Yes, the world. Thanks to Game Plus TV and the Rod Pedersen Digital Network. Contact us today and find out how you can be a part of Canada's fastest growing sports talk show, The Rod Pedersen Show.
You have a vision, a big idea, but how do you turn ambition into absolute impact? It starts with connection. Booking top-tier speakers and executing seamless events. That's the EMJ difference. We position your brand where it belongs, through powerful advertising, strategic media, and promotion that drives results. At EMJ Marketing, we don't just promote, we partner. Your growth, our mission.
Hiring a video company shouldn't be complicated. Click, pay, done. Skycron.com/Regina.
Welcome back to the program. Darren Dupont in for Rod Pedersen as we slow things down now. A couple of segments, just you and I, and we've really hit on something with this NFL jerseys right now and the poll question. People love those Charger baby blues. If you haven't looked at it, you got to see the Titans gear. I don't know that we can bring it on and show you, but you got to see the new Titans uniforms. Look, when it was first announced, I was mixed. When I look at the jersey and the helmet and the whole look from the Tennessee Titans, I thought, this is something beautiful, and it is gorgeous. The logo threw me off because it feels wrong. It feels like underdeveloped or not I don't even know how to describe it. I don't want to say something like, it feels like a child made the logo, that you see on social media, but that's almost the vibe that you get when you see it, because it's just so simple and it's not iconic yet. Because, I mean, how can a logo be iconic that was just launched? And like everything, it's going to take some time to get used to. The old flame on the logo, was that a deal breaker not having it? No. I think I'm going to miss not having any navy in the uniform kit because the merch looks so good in navy and things just pop. Navy is maybe my favorite color to wear. And the baby blue is beautiful, but I don't like to wear the lighter colors. They just don't look that good. I think I mean like a baby blue, but hey, I think it's going to be great. The jerseys, though, are spectacular. So that's spawned the poll question today. Who has the best uniforms in the NFL? I put up these options: the Dallas Cowboys, the Vegas Raiders, the Tennessee Titans, and other, knowing that other was going to win the poll because everybody's going to vote for their favorite team. But the Vegas Raiders are leading the poll right now, 24%, leading the Dallas Cowboys at 12%, and just 6% of you voting for the Tennessee Titans, which tells me you haven't seen the new kit. Shame on you, because it is gorgeous, and there's just nothing you can say about it. It's probably the best uniforms in the NFL. Although the silver and black of the Raiders is so classic and so clean. And same with the Cowboys, too. I mean, just with the navy and the white and the star is so iconic. You know, but I've seen poll questions, or I've seen, what do you want to call it, power rankings of uniforms that I've, you know, as I tried to come up with a poll question, is who was going to be on the poll? It was such an interesting, how do you come up with Dallas, Vegas, and Tennessee? Well, Tennessee's on the poll because they're the subject of the whole thing. They just did a rebrand and launched the new jerseys, and it's really the talk of the NFL over the last few days. But I had thought about the Green Bay Packers because it's such an iconic look with the G and the green and the gold. And I've seen the Green Bay Packers in power rankings ranked as low as 32nd in the league. And I've seen them as high as the 4th or 5th best uniform in the league. So it's such a discrepancy based on taste. What else stands out? You know, what stands out is teams that have the clean look, traditional, 2 colors, right? The navy and the white of the Cowboys, the black and the silver of the Raiders. And that's what Tennessee's going for, with the baby blue and the white as your primaries, and just a little trim of red, which is why the face mask remains white. So I think a lot of that is really interesting. But it's the uniform that's drawn the discussion. Look, other breaking news happening today in the curling world. We see Brendan Bottcher announced a new team with Jeff Walker and the Horgan brothers. So congratulations to all of them. And after spending some time with Brad Guju, Brendan Bottcher becomes a skip again, and he'll lead his own team. We talked about the World Cup of Hockey earlier on this hour, and now it is officially released that the World Cup of Hockey is coming back in 2028 between Edmonton, Calgary, and Prague as the hosts. So the European component is Prague. It will be Calgary and Prague, each hosting half of the round robin, with Edmonton hosting the semifinal and the final. So that beautiful new arena in Calgary, along with Edmonton and Prague, are going to be hosting the World Cup of Hockey in 2028. And it makes me ask the question, is it too much? I don't know. I mean, is it too much best on best that it loses its value? And you start not watering down the competition, but the more often things happen, the less special they are. The more readily available we can get things, the less value it has, right? That happens in life, whether it's access to things, access to, nice food or toys or cars or things on your phone. The more accessible things are, the less they matter. Think about your relationships. You know, you used to see somebody, a family member, once every so often, and you got really, really excited. And now it doesn't mean as much because we message, we call, we see them all the time. Traveling has gotten less exciting and less important and has lost a little bit of its value because it's so easy to pick up and go. Best on best hockey, is it going to be too much? Not yet. Not yet. If this becomes something where they try and do it every year, yes. But right now, it looks like every 2 years, we're going to have best on best hockey. Olympics in 26, World Cup in 28, Olympics with the NHLers, we hope, in 2030, and then hopefully the World Cup again in 32. So hopefully every 2 years, flip-flopping between the Olympics and the World Cup will give us best on best hockey. I hope the NHL doesn't try and take over and do it every 2 years and get out of the Olympics, or even worse, make it every year. I think that would be bad for hockey. I do. But right now, it is okay. Want to check in, see if there's any comments in here. Tony from Cochrane, Alberta says he just looked up the new Titans gear. They're all right. They're all right. They're stunning, Tony. Stunning. Like the helmets, looks like a combination and respect of the old Houston Oilers scheme. Yeah, it does take them back to the roots for sure. But it is very clean. Jacksonville Jaguars have great colors since they got rid of the split gold and black helmet. Yeah, the Jags could be good, but they need to do something more. The Jags, to me, are a little stagnant. Maybe that's because they're a division rival of the Titans. But anyways, we'll leave it at that. The Houston Texans, not great either. I mean, they're also in the division. The Colts aren't bad. I will say that about a division rival. I don't mind the Colts. It's the blue and white classic horseshoe, and you just think of Peyton Manning. The Colts are pretty good. So there you go. John Ohm writes in and says, favorite uniform is the Memphis Mad Dogs of the CFL. It has me thinking about who's got the best uniforms in the CFL and who could be due for a redesign. I've always liked Calgary with the iconic red helmet and the white horse. I don't love when the Stampeders introduce black, even though it can be sleek as a one-off, and I like it as a one-off. I love the reds, the red and white. I don't like when Calgary gets crazy with the shoulder striping and black. I love the Calgary with just the white horse on the red helmet. That's pretty iconic. The retro riders, I mean, I grew up in the 90s and the early 2000s with that rider, the S and the shield with the wheat sheaf. I was a fan of the classic, right? Again, simple times, simple logos. Hamilton, not bad. When the Argos get into the different blue combinations, they can be gorgeous as well. Winnipeg. So you can make a case for every team in the CFL for sure. John Ohm says he loves the black pants for the Saskatchewan Roughriders. Yeah, those aren't bad. Very interesting. A question coming in from Scott White says, what do you think Malik Willis will do in Miami? What do I think Malik Willis will do? Well, the money he's getting paid means he's getting signed to be their starting quarterback. This is going to be a new position for Malik Willis. He's been a starting quarterback at times with the Tennessee Titans. He hasn't really been with the Green Bay Packers. Now that it's his team, that can change things, right? You're in a different environment with a new set of coaches, new coordinators, new quarterback coach. So that makes things a little bit different, right? Sometimes how a player does in situation one will not translate into situation two. Malik Willis has a chance, though, to grow up and see if he can handle it. I would say temper your expectations for Malik Willis, but he is so gifted with raw talent and his ability to think on his feet. What do I expect from Malik Willis? I do not expect Malik Willis to be a Pro Bowl quarterback. I don't expect him to throw for 300 yards a game. I think Malik Willis will use his legs a little bit. I think he'll manage the offense. I think Miami will be an okay, but not great team yet. But if Malik Willis fits in Miami, if he can fit in that scheme, he has the tools to thrive. But much like we've seen with Sam Darnold, much like we see with certain quarterbacks, you need to have the right fit. You can't just plug any quarterback into any system and expect success. Football has a more complex game plan, I feel like, than any other sport, and fit in scheme matter. Coach and quarterback relationship and compatibility matter more than anything. So we'll see the compatibility from Malik Willis. I would temper expectations, but I would remain excited. Poll question check-in before we're done with hour one, and then we'll reset at the top of the clock for hour two and welcome in our American audience as well across the Silver State Sports and Entertainment Network in Las Vegas. We'll get to that. We'll reset on the NFL. We'll reset on hockey, the World Cup of Baseball, and the poll question. Who has the best uniforms in the NFL? Right now, the Vegas Raiders are leading 22% of the action. Dallas second with 11%. My Titans just 6%. I don't like that. Obviously, 61% of you saying other, but that's voting for your own favorite jerseys or your favorite team. Okay, Scott Laughlin's going to join us in hour 2 from SiriusXM NHL Radio. He's the host of NHL Morning Skate. We'll talk with him about some playoff races that are happening, the Edmonton Oilers, the World Cup of Hockey, the GM meetings, and more. The Rod Pedersen Show continues. Rod, on his day off, he's got appointments today, but no Rod Pedersen, Darren Dupont in instead. Back after this on the Game Plus Television Network and streaming on YouTube.
Hiring a video company shouldn't be complicated. Click, pay, done. Skycron.com/Regina.
You have a vision, a big idea, but how do you turn ambition into absolute impact? It starts with connection. Booking top-tier speakers and executing seamless events, that's the EMJ difference. We position your brand where it belongs, Guy, through powerful advertising, strategic media, and promotion that drives results. At EMJ Marketing, we don't just promote, we partner. Your growth, our mission.
This is a test pattern. This is what happens when your video company screws up. You don't want your clients to see a screw-up. Hire a company that only does video, so it won't screw up. Then, people who give you money will see less of these and more of you. Skycron.com/live.
You have a vision, a big idea, but how do you turn ambition into absolute impact? It starts with connection. Booking top-tier speakers and executing seamless events, that's the EMJ difference. We position your brand where it belongs, Guy, through powerful advertising, strategic media, and promotion that drives results. At EMJ Marketing, we don't just promote, we partner. Your growth, our mission.
Business owners and marketers. Okay, we know you think we're pretty cool. That's why we want you to share in the coolness factor. Partner with the Rod Pedersen Show and market your business every weekday to sports lovers just like yourself. Take advantage of our many cost-effective commercial and promotional opportunities. Tell the world about your business. Yes, the world. Thanks to Game Plus TV and the Rod Pedersen Digital Network. Contact us today and find out how you can be a part of Canada's fastest-growing sports talk show, The Rod Pedersen Show.
Sports fans, daytime sports talk gets a whole lot better weekdays at noon Eastern with the Rod Pedersen Show. Talking sports daily with A-list guests, and the best part is you can always join the discussion as we're the most interactive talk show on television. Broadcasting from coast to coast from the biggest events like Super Bowl, Stanley Cup Final, Grey Cup, and more. There's nothing like it in the game today. The Rod Pedersen Show, daily at noon Eastern and 10 p.m. Pacific on Game Plus Network.
Hiring a video company shouldn't be complicated. Click, pay, done. Skycron.com/Regina.
How about that?
Well, hello, it's me again. Welcome to the Rod Pedersen Show. Darren Dupont in today. And yes, a new face on your television screen in for Rod Pedersen, who is away today. Rod said he's got appointments. Let's try, we should have had that as the poll question today. What's Rod's appointment? Is he at the dentist? Is he got to visit the bank? Maybe Rod is getting his feet scrubbed at the getting a little mani-pedi today. I don't know. Maybe we got to play around with what's Rod doing. Maybe he's getting the Goldie waxed up a little bit and ready for the summer season. I'm not sure, but he's got appointments today, and he called me in off the bench to out of the bullpen, if you will, to pinch it today and take on the show. So we say hello and welcome to everybody who's watching today. If you were watching hour one across the network, you've been watching. We'll continue on from that. And thanks to Mitchell Scruffy Blair, who joined us. It was good to connect with Mitch, talking a lot of hockey. We talked about the World Baseball Classic as well. And here in hour two, we're going to be joined by Scott Laughlin, the host of NHL Morning Skate on SiriusXM. NHL Radio is going to talk to Scott coming up, I believe, in the next segment. So looking forward to talking to Scott. The YouTube chat is open, so appreciate everybody watching. The poll question today has spawned a really great discussion, and that'll continue here in hour two. The Tennessee Titans unveiled a brand new brand relaunch over the last few days, and it has spawned the poll question now as to who has the best uniforms in the NFL. And we know it's the Tennessee Titans now, but we wanted to let you guys vote. And of course, you're not going to vote for my Titans, but it is a very clean look. Right now, the options are the Dallas Cowboys, the Vegas Raiders, the Tennessee Titans, or other. We know other is going to lead the poll, but the Vegas Raiders continue to lead the poll, really, of the available teams with 20% of the vote. The silver and black of the Vegas Raiders continues to be number one. So curious about that, who you would vote for. So the Titans launched a brand new redesign with a new logo and new colors. They're going back to the Oilers roots with the baby blue, the white, and the little red trim around the numbers. So that's the point there, which has me actually looking up who's got the best jerseys in the NFL, like overall. I found this report from last year from Bleacher Report. They were ranking the best jerseys in the 24-25 season. And number one, the Anaheim Ducks with the orange. I was going to say, I don't love that they went to orange. I know they're in Orange County, and they're trying to build off of that. And they look really good with the all orange. And they're the only, Philadelphia doesn't really go all orange. They do a lot of black, I feel like. Obviously, they do the orange. But I feel like orange isn't obviously a popular color. Boston Bruins, number two. I can't argue with that. It is classic and clean, the black and gold with the white. The B is iconic. That yellow/gold, I'm not sure exactly what they call it. It's very good, very iconic. The Buffalo Sabres are number three. And that's with the swords and the buffalo in the middle. Number four on theirs is the Calgary Flames with the flaming C. I didn't think it would be as high as it is, but it's very good. They have the Carolina Hurricanes at number five with a photo of the Hartford Whalers, old jerseys. And then the Blackhawks at number six. They have one of the most iconic logos, if not the most iconic logo in sports, for sure in the NHL. And they unveiled their winter, what was the jersey? Was it the outdoor game, Wrigley Field? That was cool with the striping across the front and the logo. And then they went with the brown, kind of brass, the gloves, right? Colorado at number 7, Columbus at 8. I'll do the top 10. Dallas at 9, and the Detroit Red Wings at number 10. Okay, Edmonton was just outside of the top 10 at 11. So that's the poll question today. Best jerseys in the NFL. And it's got me thinking about who's got the best jerseys in the NHL. We had breaking news today in two sports. Curling, Brennan Botcher has a new team. He's going to be skipping the Horgan brothers along with Jeff Walker after the retirement of Brad Gougeau. We've seen the announcement now is official. The World Cup of Hockey is returning in 2028. And the World Cup of Hockey is coming back in 2028, and it will be hosted by Edmonton, Calgary, and Prague. So Prague and Calgary will host the round robin, each of them hosting half of the round robin. And Edmonton will get the semifinal and the final at Rogers Place. So exciting stuff there at the World Cup. What else do we got here? We're going to get to some NHL notes. The World Baseball Classic, though, continues tonight. In the first semifinal, it was the U.S. over the Dominican Republic 2-1 in a bit of a controversial ending. But Albert Pujols, classy at the end of that game with his comments. Tonight, the second semifinal, Venezuela versus Italy. That's at 8 p.m. Eastern. The final for the World Baseball Classic will go Tuesday. Yeah, Japan is out, and that was really dramatic, the way they got knocked out by Venezuela with that home run in the 6th inning. Look, I'm not the biggest baseball guy, and the World Baseball Classic wasn't on my radar as something that really was, I was looking forward to or was going to get me out of my chair or out of my seat. But you know what? The World Baseball Classic has kind of done that. It's made me pay attention and watch. And part of the circumstance of not watching has been me being away at the Arctic Winter Games in Whitehorse, the Yukon, over the last 10 days, which was a complete treat to visit that part of the world, which I have never been to. But the World Baseball Classic is getting it. And man, they've done really, really well. So the championship final goes Tuesday. The final semifinal goes tonight. Yes, I spent the last week and a bit in Whitehorse of the Yukon for the Arctic Winter Games. And let me tell you, this was a really cool new experience. If you're wondering what the Arctic Winter Games are, it is athletes from the circumpolar north that all come together to compete every 2 years for the Arctic Winter Games. It is really cool. The delegations that compete, or the teams, are Team Alaska. There's 8 of them. Team Alaska, Team Yukon, Team Northwest Territories, Team Nunavut, Team Nunavik, which is Northern Quebec. There's Team Northern Alberta. There's Team Kalaalleq Nunaat, which is Greenland. And then there's Team Sapmi, which is the Northern Scandinavia athletes from the Scandinavia region. Those are the 8 teams that compete. And it was incredible to see this competition. Look, I've been to 3 Canada games, the last 3 Canada games, in St. John's, Newfoundland, in PEI in Charlottetown, and in the Niagara region, Southern Ontario. And they were fantastic. This was completely different, very different. You had the traditional multi-sports, which was fantastic. You had hockey and basketball and volleyball and figure skating and curling and snowboarding and skiing. You had cross-country skiing. You had biathlon. You had futsal, the indoor soccer game. But you also had these unique northern sports like the Arctic sports and the Dene games, which are traditional cultural events. Things like the knuckle hop and the pole push. How about the pole push, where you take a massive log with your team on either side, almost like a tug of war, except you're pushing. And you have a huge circle, and you have to push the other team out of the circle with this big log. It is incredible to watch. The knuckle hop, where you're in a push-up position on your knuckles and your toes, working your way around. Incredibly athletic and fascinating. And the gymnasium was packed full of spectators. An atmosphere that rivals any I've seen. It was really cool to be a part of. I had chills. So to be there for the last week and a bit, providing coverage, doing interviews, and hosting a live program every night was awesome. So it was really cool to be in Whitehorse and the Yukon. And I come from Saskatchewan, Canada. I come from the north. This is the north. Let me tell you, like I grew up in snow, and the snow stays. This is snow like I've never seen. This is the driveways with 5 feet snowbanks on either side. So the driveway is cut out of the snow. The snow is up to the windows. Really cool. Like really, really cool. And a great place to be. It was cold in the -30s all week, but warmed up as I left a little bit. So the Arctic Winter Games was really fantastic and great to be a part of. And if you're wondering, Alaska led the medal table at the end. Yukon was second. So a lot of fun. Met a lot of really cool people. To the NHL a little bit now. A couple things we're going to chat with Scott Laughlin about coming up. We're going to talk about the Department of Player Safety is now under the microscope after the Radko Gudas hit on Auston Matthews. It came with a 5-game suspension for Radko Gudas after the knee-on-knee hit with Auston Matthews. It started when Matthews' agent blasted the Department of Player Safety and George Peros for it not being stiff enough. And what do? It's also spawned a little bit of, I want to say, investigation or a look or commentary on the Leafs because nobody jumped in to help out or to go after Radko Gudas. So what does this say about the Toronto Maple Leafs? And then the newest development is Connor McDavid has spoken out in the coming days. And McDavid is suggesting that we need to review the process around the Department of Player Safety. So McDavid has called out the Department of Player Safety, and will that spawn something this week at the NHL's GM meetings? Curious about that. Very curious about that and what comes out of it. The Edmonton Oilers are in the news again. Connor Ingram's been named their starting goaltender, so we want to chat a little bit about that as well. Leon Draisaitl out, but for how long, and what does this do to the Edmonton Oilers and their playoff chances? The Ottawa Senators are coming off a great weekend, a sweep this weekend, which has moved them up to just 3 points behind Boston and Detroit for the final 2 wildcard spots in the Eastern Conference. Boston and Detroit both have 80 points to hold the 2 wildcard spots. Columbus is next with 79, and then Ottawa with 77. Very curious to see who's going to get those playoff spots, but Ottawa rolling at the right time. If you've visited rodpedersen.com or subscribed to the newsletter, you'll have read Rod's Monday Morning Goalie, or on Sunday, you would have gotten his weekend newsletter. You would have seen in there that Anze Kopitar has become the Los Angeles Kings all-time leading scorer. And this includes Luc Robitaille, Marcel Dion, Wayne Gretzky, but Anze Kopitar, leading scorer in LA Kings franchise history. Pretty good. And then the final NHL note right now, 2 notes. One, who's the team that has the best, like Stanley Cup contenders? Right now, who's the hottest team going into the playoffs, and who has the best chance to bring home the Stanley Cup? Who should we be thinking about when it comes to Stanley Cup favorites? Obviously, the Colorado Avalanche, wire to wire, have been great, but the Dallas Stars are 9-0-1 in their last 10 games. The Carolina Hurricanes lead the East. They're 7-3-0 in their last 10. They continue to play well. Is this the year that the Hurricanes finally get over the hump and win a game in the conference final or advance to the Stanley Cup? With Rod Brindamore, this team has not won a game in a conference final. Or is it the Buffalo Sabres? 9-1-0 in their last 10 and continue to threaten in the East and continue to move their way up. The Buffalo Sabres are very, very good. So looking at that, we'll talk to Scott Laughlin about that as well. And the final note in the NHL I want to bring up today is which franchise is in the most trouble right now? And this is an interesting one to me because this morning, as I was browsing Daily Faceoff, I was reading our friend Stephen Ellis was talking about NHL draft lottery odds. And we've reached that time to start talking about the NHL draft lottery. Right now, with 25.5% odds to land the number 1 overall pick, which could be Gavin McKenna. It could be somebody else. Chase Reed of the Sioux Greyhounds will be a top pick. We have Ivor Stenberg, who's playing in Frölunda overseas, could be a top pick. Keaton Verhoff from the University of North Dakota is listed as a top pick. So 25.5% of the odds, the Vancouver Canucks right now have the best odds to land the number 1 overall pick. The Calgary Flames are second at 13.5%, followed by the Chicago Blackhawks at third, 11.5%. Here's the top 11 in order. Vancouver, Calgary, Chicago, St. Louis, New York Rangers, the Winnipeg Jets at 6, Nashville, and then Boston via Toronto. That pick is top 5 protected. So if the Leafs end up winning the lottery or moving their way up from poor play at the end of the year. New Jersey at 9, Los Angeles Kings at 10, and then the Blackhawks again at number 11, and that's the Florida Panthers first-round pick. So who's going to win the first overall pick is one thing, but which of these teams is in the most trouble moving forward? And specifically, Vancouver, Calgary, and I don't even want to include Winnipeg in that situation, but who's in the most trouble, Vancouver or Calgary? They're right now the top 2 favorites for to land the number 1 overall pick in the NHL's draft lottery. That's interesting. So we'll talk to Scott Laughlin after the break from NHL Radio. That's coming up as Rod is away. He's got appointments today. So it's Darren Dupont in with you on the Rod Pedersen Show, watching on the Game Plus television network and streaming live on YouTube.
Hiring a video company shouldn't be complicated. Click, pay, done. Skycron.com/Regina.
Business owners and marketers. Okay, we know you think we're pretty cool. That's why we want you to share in the coolness factor. Partner with the Rod Pedersen Show and market your business every weekday to sports lovers just like yourself. Take advantage of our many cost-effective commercial and promotional opportunities. Tell the world about your business. Yes, the world. Thanks to Game Plus TV and the Rod Pedersen Digital Network. Contact us today and find out how you can be a part of Canada's fastest growing sports talk show, The Rod Pedersen Show.
Sports fans, daytime sports talk gets a whole lot better weekdays at noon Eastern with the Rod Pedersen Show. Talking sports daily with A-list guests, and the best part is you can always join the discussion as we're the most interactive talk show on television. Broadcasting from coast to coast from the biggest events like Super Bowl, Stanley Cup Final, Grey Cup, and more. There's nothing like it in the game today. The Rod Pedersen Show, daily at noon Eastern and 10 p.m. Pacific on Game Plus Network.
Business owners and marketers. Okay, we know you think we're pretty cool. That's why we want you to share in the coolness factor. Partner with the Rod Pedersen Show and market your business every weekday to sports lovers just like yourself. Take advantage of our many cost-effective commercial and promotional opportunities. Tell the world about your business. Yes, the world. Thanks to Game Plus TV and the Rod Pedersen Digital Network. Contact us today and find out how you can be a part of Canada's fastest growing sports talk show, The Rod Pedersen Show.
You have a vision, a big idea, but how do you turn ambition into absolute impact? It starts with connection. Booking top-tier speakers and executing seamless events. That's the EMJ difference.
We position your brand where it belongs, Guy, through powerful advertising, strategic media, and promotion that drives results. At EMJ Marketing, we don't just promote your rebel, we partner. Your growth, our mission.
This is a test pattern. This is what happens when your video company screws up. You don't want your clients to see a screw-up. Hire a company that only does video, so it won't screw up. Then, people who give you money will see less of these and more of you. Skycron.com/live. Hiring a video company shouldn't be complicated. Click, pay, done. Skycron.com/Regina.
Welcome back into the Rod Pedersen Show. No Rod today. He's got appointments, and we were kind of joking around. You can write in if you'd like. What's Rod's appointment? What has he gone with today? Is he getting a mani-pedi? I don't know what Rod's doing today. As we say hello to the smiling Scott Laughlin. Good morning, or good afternoon, Scott.
I'm well. How are you today, Darren?
I'm doing good. I'm doing good. Look, I know trying to get yourself centered on the screen is
there we go.
Is always fun. We'll get you in there. Get you in the frame.
There we go.
Hey, it's all good. As long as we can hear that beautiful voice, that's all that really matters here today. Look, as we open the program today, we had word that the announcement was coming down, and then during the show, it's official. The World Cup of Hockey is back. So we got some exciting news here on a Monday.
No, absolutely, Darren. I think it was expected. It was going to be Calgary as one of the places that would host in North America. Edmonton's the other. As you know, there had been a lot of speculation about Vegas being right there. I mean, Vegas is in line for everything these days when it comes to all of the four major professional sports. So I think given the fact that the new building is going to be opening up right around that time out there in Calgary, makes a whole lot of sense for the National Hockey League to go in there and really take care of business as far as the NHL is concerned, and giving the Calgary Flames a real nice launch pad into their new facility.
Yeah, I think that's going to be really great. I think we're all excited to see that building. And is Alberta, when that building opens, will Alberta have the two best arenas in the National Hockey League? I think it's pretty hard to argue.
Yeah, I mean, things have been going up fast and furiously out there. And look, I mean, two different cities, Edmonton and Calgary. We love them each to themselves, and they've each got a little bit to offer here, there, and everywhere. So I think good for Calgary. It's been a while since they had a facility that could give them a little bit more. And look, we're talking Calgary. We're not just talking NHL, right? We're talking about the fact that they need a facility that they can host concerts in, things of that nature, different luxury box type situations that can develop too. So it's been a long time coming for Calgary, Alberta. And this is just the start of some great things I'm sure to come to Calgary coming up here in the next couple of decades.
World Cup going to be in 2028. And it's got me thinking about, we have the Olympics in 26, World Cup 28, hopefully the Olympics with NHLers in 2030. How much international play best on best becomes too much? Because part of what made this all great is we hadn't had it for so long. And then all of a sudden the Four Nations face-off and the Olympics and everybody's excited. But as we know, you start doing this too much, it can start to lose its luster a little bit.
Well, I think every second year is a good barometer to work off of, Darren. I think that, that's the way things used to be back in the day. We started with the World Cup in 96. We went to the Olympics in 1998. Then the World Cup, as we know, kind of went awry there for a little bit. 2004, 2006, it was kind of staggered every couple of years as well, too. So I think this is enough time off. But to your point, I mean, you think about it, Darren, 23 months away we are from best on best. I mean, it just feels like we came from Italy and watched what we all watched there, too. So I understand what you're saying. I think every 2 years would whet the appetite, satisfy the appetite. And let's face it, I mean, the U.S. is on top in every major category right now, even sled hockey on the weekend at the Paralympics, wrapping up with a 6-2 victory USA Hockey had over Hockey Canada. So Canada's got some catching up to do. The U.S. has pretty much won everything, starting with last year's Worlds, that there is to win.
Yeah, they have. That's right. And they've got the women's gold, the men's gold, now the para gold in the sled hockey as well. Look, I want to shift here. We got to talk about the Department of Player Safety, especially after McDavid comes out and calls for a review process after the Radko Gudas hit on Austin Matthews and the subsequent 5-game suspension. What do we possibly think? What are the options that the NHL could do? What could come out of this at the meetings?
Well, it sounds like there's not going to be much happening with regards to the Gudas hit, player safety, re-examining the process as Connor McDavid has suggested. I think there's got to be a bigger discussion that goes on, and it might take until the offseason to get it going, Darren. But as I've often said, I've often gotten the sense that the NHL's Department of Player Safety takes all of its cues from the general managers in the NHL. If the general managers want to change something, if they want harsher, more strict discipline for things like knee-on-knee collisions, the general managers can put it in the ear collectively of all those in New York City from George Peros on downwards. The NHL's Department of Player Safety could make the penalties a little bit more severe for things like knee-on-knee, for spearing, things like that. Because I can't imagine, and I've said this many, many times over the years, I can't imagine that you get fined $5,000 for stabbing somebody with your stick on the ice, but that's kind of the way things go, right? Spearing's not an automatic suspension. I think it should be, but it starts with the general managers who have to meet with the supplementary discipline people, Department of Player Safety, and say, look, this is something that's a problem right now. We want you to clamp down on this a little bit more severely. We want to eradicate this issue. Until the general managers tell the Department of Player Safety in New York City, we want things to change, Darren, I'm not sure things are going to change at all.
Well, you almost took away my next question, because one of the things that I've heard was maybe some talk about bringing in a third party to make these decisions. But if it's the GMs that make these calls, they have control over the Department of Player Safety, or a lot of power. They wouldn't want to bring in a third party. How much traction do you think there could be on that idea?
Yeah, I guess the problem with a third party is you want to make sure you got somebody who's got a pretty good handle on hockey, sports, period, right? And, what qualifications will you need as a third party to delve into NHL and HLPA goings on? And as we know, when it comes to any suspension, Darren, I mean, the reality is that many, many voices have to be heard from the Department of Player Safety. Sometimes, in some cases, the commissioner is heard, as we know. The NHLPA wants to have its rights protected, both for the victim and for the perpetrator of the crime. Agents are going to make phone calls to New York City, and they're going to lobby for their clients or against their clients, or whatever the case may be. So I think there are a lot of people that are going to have opinions on this. I think at the end of the day, if it's player safety and you want to make the players a little bit more safer on the ice, which is what we think this is going to be designed to do and maybe improve along the way, I think that it starts with the general managers recognizing that they've got a problem in a couple of different areas. And if you want to change the problems that are going on right now on the ice, there's a way to do it. Just have your say. And by majority, say to the NHL's Department of Player Safety, we've got to change things. And this is what we think should happen. If you go knee on knee, forget about 5. Why don't we go 10 next time? And then if it becomes more of an issue and doesn't stamp everything out, then maybe we have to turn up the heat a little bit further too. But until the general managers have their say in order to change the game, to protect the players a little bit more, you're going to have what we saw last week with Radko Gudas going knee on knee with Austin Matthews at AM34 being lost for the season.
It always makes it easier to have these discussions when it's stars that are impacted. That really seems to wake everybody up. The bigger the star, the bigger the name. Austin Matthews out for the year. And if that becomes surgery and maybe compromises the start of next season, let's hope that's not the case. Good
and
news
what
now.
happens
One
too,
of the
Darren,
things,
if the Leafs were actually in a playoff race right now? How would that have changed the dynamic, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And now we're having a deeper conversation about what this looks like. Very interesting to see how they decide to navigate this. Look, when I go to LA, one of my favorite things going to a game is walking around seeing all the statues outside the arena. And recently now, Anze Kopitar, the franchise's all-time leader in points scored. Where does Anze Kopitar going to rank among Kings legends? We're talking about Dion and Luc Robitaille, Wayne Gretzky. Where does Anze Kopitar fit in Kings history?
Well, number one, Darren, as you know, as you alluded to off the top, there is no arena in professional sports that has more statues outside of it than Crypto.com Arena, right? Like from Chick Hearn to Bob Miller, all the Kings led by Gretzky, Magic Johnson, Kobe, so on and so forth. No other arena in LA. You could spend a day just walking around outside Crypto.com and taking pictures with the statues out there. But to answer your question, I think, Darren, Anze Kopitar is the greatest and best Los Angeles King of all time. I think when you add up the longevity, like 20 years with the same franchise, you add up his point production, Selke Trophy win, on-ice leader, off-ice leader in the community, a couple of Stanley Cups obviously give him a little bit of an edge over Marcel Dion and Wayne Gretzky. I think there's no doubt in my mind that we're watching the greatest Los Angeles King ever, Anze Kopitar, wind down his career that I think ultimately is going to result in a first ballot Hockey Hall of Fame induction for him 3 years after he retires. So start making plans for that, I guess, if you're a Kings fan for sure. But getting back to it, I think there's no doubt in my mind that Anze Kopitar is number one. You could say Gretzky. Hey, Gretzky changed the course of hockey, right? I mean, there's not the Anaheim Ducks and other expansion franchises, if not for the greatest trade in hockey history back in the summer of 1988. That's all well and good, but Gretzky didn't play long enough in Los Angeles to make the mark that Anze Kopitar did. Marcel Dion did, but didn't win the Stanley Cups that Anze Kopitar led his squad to as well, too. So from a couple of different standpoints, I think you check the boxes off, Darren, and I think there's no doubt in my mind that Anze Kopitar is number one all time as far as the Kings are concerned.
Yeah, he's had a wonderful career, been part of probably the greatest era of Kings hockey when you think about the Stanley Cups and everything else. So yeah, pretty good. Look, we're into the home stretch. 15 games or so left in the season for a lot of these teams. I want to talk about playoff races. It's heating up in the East, especially after Ottawa's great weekend. They now just sit 3 points back. So you've got Boston and Detroit, both with 80 points, holding down the 2 wildcard spots. Columbus is 1 point back, and Ottawa's 3 points back. Who's going to end up in those final 2 spots?
Oh, at this point, if you're trending in the right direction, I think you have to say that Columbus and Ottawa are feeling pretty good about things, right? Columbus and Ottawa with the way that they're playing, and then you say, well, who comes out? I think the injury to Dylan Larkin and the injury to Andrew Kopp, I think are really going to hurt Detroit here down the stretch. A big one, I believe, coming up later on this week between Detroit and Montreal. I think if I'm a Habs fan right now, you can say, well, we're looking up at second, but you're also just a couple of points out of missing, too. They've got some question marks in Montreal, and is Jacob Fowler going to be the guy that takes them to the playoffs? Not really sure about that either. So if I'm going on past precedent and what's happened here the past couple of days and the past couple of weeks, if you extrapolate it that way, I think, Darren, I'm saying Columbus and Ottawa get in. I'm thinking Detroit misses. And then the question comes up, what about the Yzer plan, man? Like, we're 6 years in or whatever it is to Steve Yzerman trying to get this team back to the playoffs, and it clearly hasn't worked out. And I've got some concern for Montreal. I think the injury to Kirby Dach is going to hurt more than anybody could have anticipated. We know that Marty St. Louis had a difficult time here recently by making a healthy scratch of Brendan Gallagher going back to a couple of games ago. So I think there are question marks in Montreal and Detroit, and I think those 2 teams could be vulnerable right now, and maybe it's time for Columbus and Ottawa to seize the opportunity to jump into a playoff spot.
Yeah, crazy to think about the Yzer plan in Detroit and where they go. If they miss the playoffs, it'll be a big offseason for Detroit. Yeah, the other one, big offseason for the New York Rangers, too. Who would have thought just a few years ago or a couple of years ago that it'd be the Rangers in, top 5 draft lottery odds right now with Igor Shesterkin and some of their players. And it's the Islanders with Matthew Schaefer that are rolling towards a playoff spot. But we don't need to get into that right now. I want to go to the West. How about the Edmonton Oilers? They're 5 spots up right now on a playoff spot. They got a 5-point cushion, but now no Leon Draisaitl and still questions in goaltending as Connor Ingram's announced as the starter. How should Oiler fans be feeling here in the final 12 to 15 games?
Well, I think the same old questions for Edmonton, right? And now you exacerbate that with the fact that Draisaitl, I guess, is going to miss some time. We still haven't heard today what the extent of the injury is, but after the game last night, Oilers head coach Chris Knobloch said he's going to miss some time, and he just left it at that. We'll find out how much time. We hope it's days, not weeks, for sure, if in fact it comes to be the case for Draisaitl. Look, they've had questions about scoring depth in Edmonton, right? And we know what McDavid and what Draisaitl, for the most part, can produce. Beyond that, you're wondering who is going to step up and backfill. Now that question's going to exist if they're going to miss Draisaitl for any amount of time here and going forward. I don't think necessarily that Connor Murphy's going to put Edmonton over the top as far as defensive structure is concerned. To their credit, I think, Darren, we've seen some flashes from Edmonton here lately that they can play some more of a defensive style game. And maybe that's what they're going to have to do without Draisaitl here, potentially for a couple of games. And ultimately, I think the question about goaltending has not come up with the positive answers, right? I mean, I was all for moving Skinner out because it wasn't working. Well, many considered it to be a sideways move when you brought Tristan Jarry back to Edmonton, and I think that's what it's proved it to be. It's proved to be a sideways maneuver, so much so that Connor Ingram looks like he's the number 1 guy here down the stretch for the Edmonton Oilers. And while I love that story, he stepped away from Utah, worked through some challenges off the ice, entered the Players Assistance Program. I think it'd be a great story if you can get this team to the playoffs. I've got some questions. I think that they do get in by the skin of their teeth, Darren. I don't think that they win the division. I think I'm going to give that to Anaheim, if you can believe that, because the pedigree that we've seen from Vegas has really not resulted in much, and the Mitch Marner experiment hasn't really worked out as far as the Golden Knights are concerned up until this point anyway. So I like Anaheim to win the division. Edmonton will get in somehow, some way, either in the 3rd spot or into wild card position. But beyond that, I'm not sure the Edmonton Oilers can reach the expected heights. And when you got the expected heights in Edmonton being a Stanley Cup final or bust, I think this season they come up short.
Yeah, that's how it seems. But with Connor McDavid, and if Draisaitl gets healthy, you can never count out the Edmonton Oilers. They can outscore most of their problems, which seem like they're mounting right now. Look, 3 of the hottest teams in the league. Give me one that has the best chance to win the Stanley Cup. The Dallas Stars, 9-0-1 in their last 10. Carolina Hurricanes, 7-3-0. They lead the East. And Buffalo, 9-1-0 in their last 10.
Well,
do
it's
you
funny
like?
you mentioned that, Darren. I was just thinking about this during the break before we came on together here, and I was thinking, okay, have I changed my Stanley Cup final matchup? I think I had Colorado to beat Tampa before the season began, so I could stay with that. And I don't think people would laugh at me for that. They've laughed at me for many things, Darren, as you know, but not for that prediction. Colorado over Tampa. I would say this, Darren, that right now, if I had to talk about where we've been trending here the past couple of weeks, potentially past couple of months, I would say we're looking at a 1999 Stanley Cup final rematch, right? Dallas versus Buffalo. Wouldn't it be something if it's Lindy Ruff back behind the bench? We know what, 27 years after no goal, no goal, the Brett Hull goal rather that did count, and Dallas won the Stanley Cup. Wouldn't that be something to have that storyline, that backdrop in a rematch between the two teams? So I would say Dallas to me would be the favorites by virtue of what you mentioned, their record, 4 straight wins, the remarkable point streak that they've had going on, very few weaknesses on that squad. They've got prolific scorers, they've got scoring depth, they've got quality goaltending and experience on the blue line. And the Buffalo Sabres, boy, I mean, the way that they've been trending the past couple of months, it's been amazing to watch the resurgence of the Buffalo Sabres. And boy, wouldn't it be something as well if you could talk about a team that was on the verge of missing the playoffs, we thought, for a decade and a half running. If this team gets in, Darren, and then they're able to make a run to the Stanley Cup final, I mean, you talk about going from rags to riches. That could be the Buffalo Sabres here in 26.
It could be. And I remember like the last half a dozen seasons, I've been looking at this Buffalo roster thinking, this is a roster that can win. And they just don't. And now they've finally done it. And it's very similar to Carolina too. I mean, I think I've had Colorado and Carolina picked to go to the Cup the last 2 years. Could this be the year, a team that really has struggled when they've gotten to the Eastern Conference Final?
Yeah, Carolina is a team to me that's always there. You're right, Darren, but they still have to prove that they can get to the conference final, as you pointed out earlier, too. So my concern about Carolina, first of all, goaltending. Are they going to get enough of it from Freddie Anderson and Kochetkov and Bussy or whoever might be available? Because Kochetkov, we hear, might come back. The other thing about Carolina, and wrapping up here with you, Darren, I have to say, is the fact that I wonder about them and their lack of size and physicality up front. They don't have a big forward core. I know you can bring a depth piece and a fourth line guy that will protect his teammates and Nick Delorier. I'm not sure they did enough at the deadline to get bigger, stronger, and more physical up front. And I think that ultimately might be the downfall for Rod Brind'Amour's team.
Okay, before I let you go, I know we're inside a couple minutes, probably close to a minute left. Poll question today is NFL related. After my Tennessee Titans had a brand new rebrand launched, who's got the best jerseys in the NFL? I had the Dallas Cowboys, the Vegas Raiders, the Tennessee Titans, or other.
Well, I've been a Dallas Cowboys fan, Darren, as you know, for nearly 50 years now. So I'll have to end it off by saying Dallas Cowboys, to me, always near and dear to my heart. I've got 8 jerseys. I haven't bought one for quite some time, as I do have a mortgage to pay. But I've got 8 Dallas Cowboys jerseys, and there's a reason for that. So I'll go with the Cowboys once again.
And quickly, who's got the best uniforms in the NHL?
NHL, I'll still go Chicago Blackhawks. You can't go wrong with that.
Okay, good. Thanks, Scott. Appreciate you.
Anytime, Darren. Thank you.
Scott Laughlin joining us from SiriusXM NHL Radio and the host of the Morning Skate. We'll take a break, and then we'll come back with the rest of the show and take you right to the top of the hour. Darren Dupont in for Rod Pedersen here on YouTube at the Game Plus Television Network.
You have a vision, a big idea, but how do you turn ambition into absolute impact? It starts with connection. Booking top-tier speakers and executing seamless events, that's the EMJ difference.
We position your brand where it belongs, Guy, through powerful advertising, strategic media, and promotion that drives results. At EMJ Marketing, we don't just promote, we partner. Your growth, our mission.
This is a test pattern. This is what happens when your video company screws up. You don't want your clients to see a screw up. Hire a company that only does video, so it won't screw up. Then, people who give you money will see less of these and more of you. Skycron.com/live
Business owners and marketers. Okay, we know you think we're pretty cool. That's why we want you to share in the coolness factor. Partner with the Rod Pedersen Show and market your business every weekday to sports lovers just like yourself. Take advantage of our many cost-effective commercial and promotional opportunities. Tell the world about your business. Yes, the world. Thanks to Game Plus TV and the Rod Pedersen Digital Network. Contact us today and find out how you can be a part of Canada's fastest growing sports talk show, The Rod Pedersen Show.
Sports fans, daytime sports talk gets a whole lot better weekdays at noon Eastern with the Rod Pedersen Show. Talking sports daily with A-list guests, and the best part is, you can always join the discussion as we're the most interactive talk show on television. Broadcasting from coast to coast from the biggest events like Super Bowl, Stanley Cup Final, Grey Cup, and more, there's nothing like it in the game today. The Rod Pedersen Show, daily at noon Eastern and 10 p.m. Pacific on Game Plus Network.
This is a test pattern. This is what happens when your video company screws up. You don't want your clients to see a screw-up. Hire a company that only does video, so it won't screw up. Then, people who give you money will see less of these and more of you. Skycron.com/live.
Business owners and marketers. Okay, we know you think we're pretty cool. That's why we want you to share in the coolness factor. Partner with the Rod Pedersen Show and market your business every weekday to sports lovers just like yourself. Take advantage of our many cost-effective commercial and promotional opportunities. Tell the world about your business. Yes, the world. Thanks to Game Plus TV and the Rod Pedersen Digital Network. Contact us today and find out how you can be a part of Canada's fastest growing sports talk show, The Rod Pedersen Show.
Hiring a video company shouldn't be complicated. Click, pay, done. Skycron.com/Regina.
All right, welcome back to the RP Show. Darren Dupont in with you. Big thanks to Scott Laughlin for jumping in. We covered a lot of ground with NHL Network's Scott Laughlin from SiriusXM NHL Radio and the Morning Skate, the program he hosts every morning, 7 to 11 a.m. Eastern Time. Lots of good nuggets in there on playoff spots, Department of Player Safety, the GM meetings going on right now, where they have announced the World Cup of Hockey is coming back in 2028 to Edmonton, Calgary, and Prague, and that's going to be fantastic. And let's hope that the Calgary Flames are rolling by then. As of today, they have the second best odds to land the number one overall pick in the National Hockey League's draft lottery. So that's not good, but I think the future is pretty good in Calgary. Calgary reminds me a little bit like the San Jose Sharks of last year. Not quite as exciting as I was about the Sharks last year, but a team that even though they're losing more games than they're winning, and they have the second best odds to win the draft lottery and the NHL's number one overall pick, which could be Gavin McKenna if that's where they want to go. They're a team that gives you hope. And Rod talks about this, and I don't know if this is Rod's line or if he's relaying it from somebody else that talked to him. But he says, in sports, you're either selling wins or you're selling hope. Wins, meaning you're a good team and you're getting people into the building because you're winning, or you're selling hope. Last year, the Tennessee Titans were selling hope. Cam Ward looked great and played very well, even though the team was very bad and have the number 4 overall pick in the NFL draft coming up and are looking to really get a franchise-changing player, another one to play with Cam Ward, maybe a weapon like Jeremiah Love from the Irish from Notre Dame. The Calgary Flames, I think, are selling a lot of hope with Dustin Wolf in net and what they're able to do. They're a hardworking team. They're actually working through a rebuild, which we didn't think that they would, but they're actually, it feels like, or it seems like, they've signed off on a rebuild. And they're right now trending towards, well, maybe a top pick in the draft, top 3, top 5 for sure. and then a new building, things could be turning up for the Calgary Flames at the right time. But the number one odds for the draft lottery as of today, as of games completed on March 15th, is the Vancouver Canucks at 25.5%. And unfortunately, and this is going to hurt some people that watch this program that are Vancouver Canucks fans, unfortunately, the Vancouver Canucks aren't selling as much hope, I don't think, as the Calgary Flames are right now. I think we have a lot of questions about the Vancouver Canucks, more questions than answers in a year where they've traded away their best player in Quinn Hughes, and we don't really know in what direction the franchise is headed. A number one overall pick and a player like Gavin McKenna could help and would help, but where is this team going? Where is Elias Pettersson going? We have a lot of questions in Vancouver. So as we start to look towards the playoffs and the future, we start looking at these teams that aren't in the playoffs. The Winnipeg Jets have the sixth best odds to win the draft lottery right now. It's 7.5%. They're a team that I feel pretty good about, a team that's having an off year after two really good seasons back-to-back and, getting into the playoffs and being a team that had a chance to win a Stanley Cup. They have a roster that could get back there again. They've got a goaltender who is maybe the best in the world in Connor Hellebuck. The Winnipeg Jets are having an off year, just like the Florida Panthers, who have won the last two Stanley Cups. It feels like the tank's empty, and they've used this season to kind of just, okay, we got to breathe and regroup. I think the Florida Panthers will get back there. The New York Rangers, I have a ton of questions about the New York Rangers moving forward. A team that window was clearly open, but it feels like it's closed and some changes need to happen in New York. So the odds are this: Vancouver number 1, Calgary 2, Chicago 3, St. Louis 4, the New York Rangers 5, Winnipeg Jets 6, and 7 through 11, Nashville, Boston via Toronto, the New Jersey Devils, the Los Angeles Kings, and then the Chicago Blackhawks, courtesy of a pick acquired from the Florida Panthers. So Florida's pick's top 10 protected. Toronto's pick is top 5 protected. So those are the draft lottery odds as we head towards the end of the regular season. Look, we got one more segment left with you as we move towards the top of the hour. We'll take a quick break and come back. So viewer takeover, overtime, coming up next. So get your questions in. We'll chat through them, okay, after this break. You're watching on Game Plus, YouTube, and in Vegas on the Silver State Sports and Entertainment Network.
This is a test pattern. This is what happens when your video company screws up. You don't want your clients to see a screw-up. Hire a company that only does video, so it won't screw up. Then, people who give you money will see less of these and more of you. Skycron.com/live.
Business owners and marketers. Okay, we know you think we're pretty cool. That's why we want you to share in the coolness factor. Partner with the Rod Pedersen Show and market your business every weekday to sports lovers just like yourself. Take advantage of our many cost-effective commercial and promotional opportunities. Tell the world about your business. Yes, the world. Thanks to Game Plus TV and the Rod Pedersen Digital Network. Contact us today and find out how you can be a part of Canada's fastest-growing sports talk show, The Rod Pedersen Show.
Sports fans, daytime sports talk gets a whole lot better weekdays at noon Eastern with the Rod Pedersen Show. Talking sports daily with A-list guests, and the best part is, you can always join the discussion as we're the most interactive talk show on television. Broadcasting from coast to coast from the biggest events like Super Bowl, Stanley Cup Final, Grey Cup, and more. There's nothing like it in the game today. The Rod Pedersen Show, daily at noon Eastern and 10 p.m. Pacific on Game Plus Network.
Business owners and marketers. Okay, we know you think we're pretty cool. That's why we want you to share in the coolness factor. Partner with the Rod Pedersen Show and market your business every weekday to sports lovers just like yourself. Take advantage of our many cost-effective commercial and promotional opportunities. Tell the world about your business. Yes, the world. Thanks to Game Plus TV and the Rod Pedersen Digital Network. Contact us today and find out how you can be a part of Canada's fastest growing sports talk show, The Rod Pedersen Show.
You have a vision, a big idea. But how do you turn ambition into absolute impact? It starts with connection. Booking top-tier speakers and executing seamless events. That's the EMJ difference.
We position your brand where it belongs, Guy, through powerful advertising, strategic media, and promotion that drives results. At EMJ Marketing, we don't just promote your rebel, we partner. Your growth, our mission.
Do you worry about how much someone drinks?
Do you feel angry or depressed most of the time? Do you feel neglected or unloved?
Do you feel that if the drinker loved you, she or he would stop drinking?
If you answered yes to any of these questions, you are not alone.
Not everyone trapped by alcohol is an alcoholic.
Families and friends are suffering too. Al-Anon and Alateen can help. Call 1-866-200-0223 or visit alanon.org/help.
Looking for a new ride without the big city pressure? Come to Western Dodge in Moose Jaw, where you'll find an unbeatable lineup of Ram trucks, Jeep SUVs, Dodge Muscle, and Chrysler family rides. With knowledgeable staff, great prices, and that friendly Moose Jaw touch, you'll drive away with confidence. Western Dodge. Big selection, small town service. Visit us today or browse online at westerndodge.ca.
All right, welcome back to the Rod Pedersen Show. Overtime, presented by Overtime Hockey Lanes in Calgary. Darren Dupont in for Rod one more time. He'll be back in the chair on Tuesday, and that will be game day for the final of the World Baseball Classic. Who will they meet? The U.S. is sitting in the final after a win over the Dominican Republic. It's Venezuela and Italy tonight in the other semifinal. So looking forward to that one. 8 o'clock Eastern tonight. Big thanks to, all the way back in hour one, Mitchell Blair joining us on the program. It was good to catch up with Mitch. We had a great chat. And then Scott Laughlin here in hour two. Big thanks to him for joining the program. Look, it's overtime and viewer takeover. We got about 8 minutes left in the program. So I want to get to some of the comments here on the YouTube chat. I think some of these came in for Scott, and he was chatting about these, but we had questions of possible Stanley Cup finals. Could the Buffalo Sabres make a Cinderella run to the Cup? And we talked about this with Scott. It was a wonderful conversation. Yeah, absolutely. Buffalo's 9-1-0 in their last 10. They've been really great in the second half, and they're surging. Lindy Ruff is a coach who has been there before, so he knows what it takes. Buffalo's been interesting. They've had great rosters with players, and I thought they could get there. But sometimes you can have the best ingredients, but it's not the right combination of ingredients, and then you don't get to where you need to go. Buffalo feels like a team who's finally put it all together in the right way. They absolutely could make a Stanley Cup final. I still have some hope for the Carolina Hurricanes, who are number one in the East right now, 90 points, 7 wins in their last 10 games too. They continue to play well. But can they get through the Eastern Conference final? Can they finally get over the hump? They've been there and haven't been able to get past that point. So they're a team, and Ron Brindamore is a hell of a coach, one of my favorite in the NHL. This could be the year for Carolina. Out in the West, the Dallas Stars, 9-0-1 in their last 10, and they're rolling. Could they finally get a run going again? And, Scott mentioned, and he brought up maybe 1999. It's a rematch, Dallas and Buffalo. And that was the Brett Hull foot in the crease goal. So that's on the table. Hard to argue with Colorado, who have had a great year. They stumbled a little bit down the stretch here, but they've been really good wire to wire. Look, I know Oiler fans are not very optimistic these days, and now Leon Draisaitl's out, and we don't know for how long. And they may not get into the playoffs. They only have a 5-point cushion on a playoff spot. They might not get in, but if they get in, Edmonton can roll right to a Stanley Cup again. They really can, because McDavid, Draisaitl, and then you start getting Nugent Hopkins and Zach Hyman and some of these depth players going, they can outscore their goaltending problems. We've seen that. It's been proven the last 2 years. Yes, they weren't able to climb the mountain and win a Stanley Cup, but they've been able to get there, and that's more than a lot of teams, most teams can say. So don't feel that bad. If the Oilers get in, they've got a shot. Right now, Ottawa, Columbus are on the outside looking in on the East. And I think, if they get in, they're both playing really well. It's all about who can get hot at the right time. So we chatted a little bit about that. Let's recap the poll question today, because over the last little while, it's been day by day, more and more reveal. The Tennessee Titans have launched a brand new brand, and it is very, very nice. So it's spawned the poll question: who has the best uniforms in the NFL? The Dallas Cowboys, the Vegas Raiders, the Tennessee Titans, or other? We knew other was going to win, but right now Dallas and Vegas both have 18% of the vote, leading the way. The Vegas Raiders were leading most of the program. The silver and black of the Vegas Raiders is iconic, and I'm glad they've kept everything the same from Oakland to Vegas. The Raiders name, the colors, because it is so, so iconic, and it just seems to fit the city of Las Vegas too. And then you look at Allegiant Stadium and how gorgeous that is, and it's blocked out and looks just fantastic, stunning, really. The Vegas Raiders might be the best uniforms in the NFL, but now the Tennessee Titans are in that conversation. The Chargers came up. We had a couple that like the Detroit Lions and their baby blues. I think there's a lot of interesting things. Again, I want to thank all of you for watching today in the program. We want to look at Tony from Cochrane's been in here quite a bit. Mr. Goldstrom's been in. Tony, John Ohm, busy commenting today. So big thanks to everybody for joining in today. World Baseball Classic tonight. The breaking news we had today was the World Cup of Hockey finally officially announced at the NHL's GM meetings. And it will be hosted between Calgary, Edmonton, and Prague. So Calgary and Prague will host the round robin. Edmonton will host the two semifinals and the final. World Cup of Hockey coming back in 2028. Little curling breaking news is Brennan Botcher will return after a stint with Brad Gushue. After Gushue's retirement, Brennan Botcher will now skip a team with the two Horgan brothers along with Jeff Walker. So that makes you wonder, where will John Epping go, who was playing with the Horgans last year? Where will John Epping end up? Mike McEwen is out too, looking for a new team. And Mark Nichols from Team Gushue is also looking for a new team. Maybe they join forces. We'll see. So that's coming up. We also are hearing, and we haven't talked about this today, but could be expansion in the NBA. Seattle and Las Vegas. That's happening. Voting at the Board of Governors meetings for the National Basketball Association, potentially as early as the 2028-29 season. So lots of news here as we lift the lid on a brand new week. And tonight, the World Baseball Classic continues with the semifinals. Venezuela against Italy tonight at 8 p.m. Eastern. So in the final minute of the show, we can say thank you so much for watching. Rod is back in tomorrow. And I'm going to take a little bit of a break after spending the last 10 days up in Whitehorse, the Yukon, for the Arctic Winter Games. Just getting back yesterday and then jumping in to chat with all of you here today. A wonderful experience. I'll leave you with this. If you haven't had a chance to visit Canada's North, you should definitely do it. I've been to Yellowknife once and now to Whitehorse. Take the opportunity and go visit. It is spectacular and you won't regret it. Very, very cool part of the country was Whitehorse and the Yukon. Okay, until tomorrow, we'll say thank you so much for watching and have a great rest of your day. You've been watching this show live, The Rod Pedersen Show, daily on the Game Plus television network, now available on the Vegas Sports and Entertainment Network and on YouTube.
Good.